This episode is brought to you by Washington, D.C. When you hear Washington, you probably think politics, paperwork, power lunches. But you haven't experienced D.C. There's more museums per square mile than any place in the country. It's also where important decisions are made, like which Michelin-starred restaurant to try first. You know Washington. Now experience D.C. To plan your trip today, visit washington.org.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Because Washington did not have a typical practice on Tuesday, most of it was just prep work for New England with only one legitimate 11-on-11 series. The rest of the time, it was much more like scout team work where even the starting defense, for example, they would hold up a placard with what they wanted the guys to do on that play to give the offense a look. Just some real last-minute prep work for New England. So it's really not worth having a practice report. However, I'll be joined by Washington second-year linebacker Khaliq Hudson as he talks about his role on the defense, how he packs a punch despite being smaller or at least shorter than the typical linebacker, and how he stays connected to his father approximately 8 years after his death. Also, I talked to Nicki Jhabvala of the Washington Post as we look ahead to Thursday's preseason opener and discuss various parts of training camp, her thoughts on the quarterback situation, and other position battles. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I'll have a story Friday on receiver Terry McLaurin, going inside what makes him such a good receiver and why he'll only keep getting better. And now, here's my conversation with linebacker Khaliq Hudson, how he still draws motivation from his late father. First of all, I'm just curious how you feel your second camp is going and just what things where you feel you're better at.
I feel that my second camp is going very well. I feel that I got better at all aspects of my game. Honestly, I feel like just knowing the defense better, using my hands better, reacting to certain plays and certain formations, knowing what offenses will do out of certain formations. Just my overall football IQ, I feel like it has got better from last year to this year. So I'm very excited for our first preseason game coming up on Thursday. I'm excited for the season to start in general. Just be able to show how much I've progressed and how much, I just can't wait.
What kind of plays are you making because of that that increased knowledge?
Just making plays in the running game, making plays in the passing game, even on special teams, being in the right places at the right time and really executing my technique. So just all the way around, I just feel like I improved at all aspects.
One of the things I notice about you is you pack a punch when you get there. Everybody talks about your size, but when I see you getting into guys, you know how to get into them and basically push them back.
Yeah.
Where do you get that power, and how much of that is a strength of your game?
I get the power. I mean, I really feel like I was born with the power. I always been a strong kid, growing up and stuff, but just using my technique and all that, that's all it is. Technique, guys are bigger than me, taller than me, whatever, but at the end of the day, it don't matter. It's whoever technique is going to outdo the other man's technique. So I don't really mind it being a smaller linebacker. I'm glad they think I'm a small linebacker, so that's when they come and get me, I show them something else, but yeah, so it's fine.
Small is a relative term here in the NFL, but still for you, do you get a kick out of that? Do you stun guys because of that?
I mean, yeah, I'm a stun guys no matter what. No matter if I was a big linebacker or what. So, I mean, I just play my game. Whatever the linemen or offense think about me is whatever they think. I just know what I'm going to bring to the table every time I strap it up.
But how much, too, do you think that, because your experience, you were a running back in safety in high school and you got that safety experience. Did you play a little bit of that in Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that experience. How much does it help you in that role when you go put you in the Buffalo nickel, which is you kind of have to be a linebacker/safety?
Well, yeah, it helps me a lot that I did it in Michigan and be able to do it again here. So a lot of the things overlap. Things that I learned at Michigan, it was the same thing we're doing here, where I'm learning here. So it's definitely a help that I played the position before. And yeah, it's not an issue. I could do whatever. I could be lined up in the slot and in the box or back deep if they had asked me to. So I feel like I'm very versatile and be able to do it all.
When you're in that role, what's the key? What do you have to do well to make sure you can stay in that role?
Oh, just make sure I do what the defense that we call is asking me to do. Be where I gotta be. Trust that my teammates around me is gonna do their job to the best of their ability also. And that's all I gotta do is do my job. Do my job and don't try to do anything extra.
Is that a tough lesson to learn? I mean, you want to come out here and make plays, and I know everybody says do your job. Is that a tough lesson to learn, or was that easy for you?
It's definitely a tough lesson to learn because you always want to make plays. You always want to, thinking that you're going to guess right or you want to jump this or jump that. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust your teammates around you that they're going to do their job to the best of their ability. So everybody's clicking at once.
Have you always felt like you're either a little bit underrated, people undersell you a little bit? Do you ever feel like that?
I mean, I feel like that sometimes, but I mean, nowadays, I really don't even think about it no more. I really don't care what somebody or anybody think of me because I know what I'm going to do every day. I know what I'm going to bring to the table, and I know how hard I'm going to work every day, so the outside noise don't really matter to me.
Did it take you a little bit to learn that?
No, not really. Because I always been the type of guy who, I know what I'm doing. I know how hard I'm going to work every day. So, yeah, other people's opinions don't matter. So it wasn't hard for me.
And it's funny because I bring that up because, again, you're not a small guy. And I hate using that phrase, but like Jared Patterson, smaller than a typical running back. Yeah. You don't have the typical linebacker size. And I just wonder, that, and I know with Jared, you use things to your advantage because of that. Do you kind of take pride in what you can do when you don't have that prototypical size?
Yeah, for surely. That's when I go to things that I know I'm good at, like my speed, my quickness, getting around blocks, getting to a point before, the offensive lineman think I'm going to get there. And then I'm also, pretty strong. So shocking, shedding them, tackling aggressively and just doing everything like a normal size linebacker.
Yeah, and I don't, like I said, but you can use size to your advantage.
Yeah, for surely I use size to my advantage.
You had a camp this summer, I think it was in Pittsburgh, was it?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you to go back to your home area and have those kind of camps now?
Oh, it means a lot for me. It means a lot to get back to my community, get back to the kids growing up, and being motivation for them to know that they could do it too. I was in their shoes. I was going to camps when I was younger, and just seeing how happy they were just made my heart just melt. Just seeing kids happy, being able to get back to the kids and be able to be the role model that, I'm supposed to be. So, I'm trying to do that every year, have like an annual camp and things like that. So, I'm really into the community. So, when I'm able to give back and things like that, it just, makes me happy.
Why is that important to you?
It's important to me because the city I grew up in, just how they stay hard on me, growing up. All my coaches who coached me always coached me hard. They always knew, I was going to be one of the good ones. So they always, stayed on top of me, made sure I was doing the right things, made sure I was never around around a bad crowd or anything like that. And just the way that my dad raised me. He always raised me to go hard every day. Always raised me to just treat every opportunity like it's your last and go out there and be a dog. So that's why I just want to get back to the community because they need something like that. They need somebody they could look up to. They need somebody they could say that I did this because he did it. So that's what I'm trying to be.
How much, and you brought up your dad, how much is he still a motivating factor in your life? And it's been, I think it's almost 7 years now, right?
Yeah, 2013, so yeah, it's
8 years.
8 years, yeah. Well, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just curious how much your dad remains a motivating factor for you.
Oh, my dad motivates me every day. I got him tattooed on my side. So every day I wake up and I just look in the mirror, I see my dad there and just knowing that he's still with me every day and everything he instilled in me since I was a baby, I still live off them rules today. Me and all my other brothers, we all worked hard every day. Our dad took us to work out. He took us to do extra football drills and things like that. So just him standing on top of all of us and being hard on us really helped me in the long run.
You used to have a ritual where you basically talked to him before every game or something like that. I think when you were at Michigan, if I read that correct. Do you still do that before every game?
I still do that before every game. Yeah, I sit there, I have a conversation with my dad, you know what I mean? I write his name on my wrist tape, or I write the day that he passed away on my wrist tape, just to show that he's always with me, and I love him forever, and everything he has did for me in my life really paid off, because he knew I was gonna be here someday. It was just up to me to have that same belief and be able to put the work ethic next to the belief. So he knew I was gonna be here the whole time. So now I'm here. I just want to make him happy.
Would he tell you that?
He would for surely tell me that. He'll be bragging. He'll be bragging to all of his friends, saying that, yeah, my son's in the NFL, da-da-da. So, man, it's definitely super sad that he's not here, but everything happens for a reason, Maybe if he was still here, I wouldn't be here. You never know. So maybe that fueled me to work even harder. So I never question God. Everything happens for a reason. So, man, the only thing I can do is just make him proud now.
And I just, when you go through something like that and survive, how much does that toughen you up for anything else you face?
Oh, it toughened me up a lot. That was probably 100% the hardest thing I ever went to, just because how much my dad was in my life, how much my dad was in my whole family's life. And when he wasn't there no more, it was definitely something that we had to adjust to, and it wasn't easy at all. A lot of things was happening, a lot of things was going left, but at the end of the day, you got to keep your head on straight and do right for your dad, do right for yourself. And I just wanted to be like the man he was, the provider he was for our family. So that's just, my goal, to be like him.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that, and I got through an interview with you without telling you that I went to Ohio State. So
it's cool. I don't even want to talk about that.
I don't blame you, to be honest, but it was. I actually enjoyed watching you when you were in college. You were a demon out there for them.
Yes,
so it's kind of fun to see what you do out here. So Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
After this break, I'll be back with Nicki Jhabvala of the Washington Post as we look ahead to New England, plus some thoughts after more than 2 weeks of training camp and what is her biggest concern.
This episode is brought to you by Philips One by Sonicare. One up your brushing with Philips One. This one is the ideal one for those who are still using an old-school manual toothbrush. To all those people, it's time to take your brushing one level up. The solution is a simple one. It's the perfect timing one. It's the long-lasting battery-powered or USB rechargeable one. The comes in multiple colors to match you one. The one with a subscription that delivers new brush heads for just $5. Your teeth deserve this one. Philips One by Sonicare. One up your brushing. Learn more at philips.com/one. That's philips.com/ONE.
Hey folks, would you like free tickets for the preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens? Well, you're in luck because our sponsor, Prosper Insurance, is giving a ticket to anyone who gets a home and auto quote with them. You don't even have to buy a policy to get the free ticket, although the savings will absolutely make you want to switch today. Finding the right insurance can be a pain, but Prosper makes the process easy, all while providing great service and advice. Their licensed advisors shop the market with top companies like Allstate, Nationwide, Progressive, Travelers, and more to find you the perfect coverage at a great rate, which is just a few of the many reasons why Prosper has over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google. You have nothing to lose. Simply visit prosper.insurance/Keim to get your quote and a free ticket to the Baltimore preseason game on August 28th. That's prosper.insurance/Keim, Keim, no.com. Get ready to feel good about your insurance. Welcome back. Now here's my conversation with Nicki Jhabvala of the Washington Post. By the way, you can follow her on Twitter at Nicki Jhabvala, NICKIJHABVALA. All right, Nicki, we finally get to see him play in a game. I want to get to what we've seen over the last couple weeks in a minute, but I do want to talk about the preseason game against New England Thursday first. What are you looking forward to watching on Thursday?
I'll be looking for the guys that are on the bubble, guys at spots where the competition is steep and they're really fighting for roster spots, because this is when you win jobs. A lot of the younger players, they didn't have this last year. So guys, deep on the running back list, Jared Patterson, how will he show out in this game? Receiver, how will some of the younger receivers vying for spots? I also think how guys play on special teams will be incredibly important. I know that's probably the least sexy aspect, especially in preseason, but yeah, especially on this team. And in deciding that last receiver spot with the returner position. And then, in the trenches, the offensive line. How are they shuffling guys? What combinations are they using? I know most eyes will be on the quarterback. I'm curious to see how much time they actually give Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then, what will be the split with Taylor Heineke and Steven Montez. I think that quarterback competition, if there is one still for that backup job, I mean, that it'll become more real if Kyle Allen is able to come back and get some reps in a preseason game. But
with receiver, how do you? Because obviously, I think most of us go in there with obviously Terry and Adam, Curtis, Diami, Keim, Sims, because going Keim. There's probably one or two more spots there. How are you looking at that group right now for fighting for that spot after a couple weeks?
Yeah, the three that I've been focused on the most are Steven Sims, who's had a really good camp. You just want to see him translate it to game action, no drops, the whole nine. Antonio Gandy-Golden, draft pick, didn't play much last season because of the injury. Can he really prove himself? And DeAndre Carter, a guy they signed to be a slot guy and a returner. How does he handle both phases? Those are the three. I'm trying to think am I missing anybody?
Harmon, maybe?
Harmon, too, yeah, coming off the knee injury. I mean, a bigger receiver. This could be a time where he really stands out from the pack if he has some big performances. So
because I think you're looking at, if Carter makes it, there's 7 guys. If same maybe with Sims too, with Steven Sims. I think with Harmon, I don't know that you keep 7.
Right.
Because I'm not sure. I think if you're keeping 7, that 7th guy is probably a returner of some sort.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, and this is what, we asked Ron after the last practice on Tuesday is, how much do you have to factor in the fact that you like these guys a lot, but maybe not enough for the 53? Right. Do you worry about losing them on waivers? Does that factor in on whether you keep or cut a guy? And he said yes. So I think that's another thing you have to be looking for, especially in preseason, because now it's, they get practice tape, but now they got game tape that the league sees. So.
And I think that's going to be an interesting one too. I mean, I look at Gandy-Golden as probably being ahead because of the draft pick, because guys who drafted him still like him and are still here.
Right.
But you never know if Harmon goes out and balls out, if Sims or Carter have really good returns. And I know with Steven, it's always going to be about ball security. And although Carter had some fumbles too as a returner. So it's really going to be an interesting way to see how it shakes out. On the other side, the defensive backs kind of in that same position. I mean, you're probably looking at a 1 or 2 special teams only guys there. How do you assess that group for those last couple spots?
Yeah, I think as camp has gone on, we've kind of gotten a sense for who they view as, their starting core, be it, in base or nickel. But the guys on the fringe like, Cole Luke and rookie Derek Forrest, who is primarily a special teams guy but has had some big plays in camp at safety. Torrey McTyre's come up with some big plays. These lesser known guys, how many DBs are they going to keep? Are they going to keep 5 safeties, 5 corners? And, I think a lot of it will depend on how they view these guys in terms of rotation. How many guys are corners and safeties? How many guys are slotting corners? They got a lot of versatility back there. Will that factor into the final number, in addition to needs at other positions? So how they use those guys, how they're mixing them in, that'll be something to watch for sure.
Absolutely. Do you think, even with tight end, it almost seems like that's shaking out to be 3 solid guys there, do you think?
Yes. But again, I'm also curious, if somebody stands out for the Patriots that's deep on their depth chart.
Right. And you brought up that point today with Ron Rivera, and that's a good point, that you're going to be playing guys that might stand out to you.
Yeah, because it appears as of Tuesday, that Hunter Henry might miss time. I don't know if he was slated to play at all in this game, but it means more opportunity for guys deeper on their depth chart. So might they use this game to look at other tight end talent, because here it's Logan Thomas and everybody else.
It's Logan, and probably like Tamarick Hemingway and Bates right now seem to be further ahead Sam still looks like he's need another year to develop. And
he's an interesting one because they took a flyer on him, gave him, a 2-year deal. You cut him, he goes on waivers. Are you worried that somebody else is going to claim him? Do you have to keep him initially? Put him on IR.
Right.
There's
a way to do that. And I think they'd probably like to find a way to keep him and not play him at this point.
Right.
Going
he does not
as of right now.
Ready.
Right, correct.
Yes.
What have you seen? What's kind of stood out, even if it's compared to last year's camp? Does anything stand out to you?
The comfort level of the staff, the returning players. I mean, I think that defensive line is just a force. We're just seeing it start to come together, and we as media didn't have a ton of time seeing it either because there wasn't OTAs, there wasn't mini camp, no preseason, but the confidence of that group is noticeable. It's loud too. It's
very loud. And that's what Montez talked about. He admitted he's feeling really good. That's when you hear him talk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there's a trickle effect there. I mean, their confidence up front, not to mention their play and total dominance. It just that's big for this team, and the staff appears more comfortable. It's you don't get the full picture since you haven't had a game yet, but and Ron has said this. You can start to see them getting a better feel for how to best use players, given their skill set.
Offensively, what's standing out to you, or what's jumping out to you? What are you thinking so far?
The talent at receiver. I mean, they do have a lot of talent. That's going to lead to some difficult decisions.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good problem to have. Quarterback is still a concern to me, and though Ron says he's pleased with where his guys are at, he's anxious to get Kyle Allen back from his ankle injury, and the depth there is concerning to me. Yeah. There's been games when practices when Taylor Heineke appears to be a little hobbling, but he plays through it to his credit. But if he goes down and Kyle Allen is still dealing with injury, Steven Montez does not appear ready for game time, you just have Ryan Fitzpatrick, and to me they have to really assess what they have in that group and what they may still need.
They need Kyle Allen healthy.
Yes.
What have you thought of Ryan Fitzpatrick so far?
I thought he's looked good to me. Training camp is always hard to tell with the quarterbacks because an interception, we can instantly put the blame on the quarterback, but we also don't know if he was told to do that.
Right. But sometimes, and even Ron said, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but sometimes, as Ron was saying too, or in some situations, the guy might just force a ball because you don't want to run.
Right.
Too much running is bad for a quarterback in a practice setting.
Right.
So you don't always know, but anyway, go on.
I think the most noticeable thing with Ryan are the little details, He's the first one out, and to me that's a cliche that doesn't really matter, but he's the first one out, and he's the one talking to Steven Montez before practice. Right. He's working with the younger guys. He's one of the last ones on the field, and he's talking to the tight ends.
Correct. Yeah.
He's on the sideline working things out with Terry McLaurin on a certain route. The little details and the rapport he has with the guys, it's similar to Alex Smith in that he's a veteran, and he's interested in helping them. And he's got that personality that works well for guys half his age, works well for guys that are closer to his age. And I think that's huge for a guy at that position because
it is.
You're counted on to be a leader.
And it's funny because you bring that up, and there was one day where, and sometimes after these practices, it's hard to see guys because we're blocked by the banner behind, where we're talking to the coaches or to Ron or whomever is up there. But I see him one day out there with Adam Humphries, and he's he's basically going, and I could kind of, my gather of what he was saying was that, basically, if there's the leverage is here, I need you to do this. If leverage is there, let's do this. But he's talking over the guy he's familiar with, and then you work it out. And you say, okay, let's pretend there's a linebacker in this area. What are you doing? And it's those little things add up. And it's why, like you said, it's why players, I think, that's what they talk about with him all the time.
Yeah, it's the details and the fact that he's seen so much, having been in the league 16 seasons, that, you value it when a guy like that is going through the finest of details of a certain route or a certain play because he knows that's going to come up. And they've adjusted things on the fly because of his experience and what he's seen and how he knows to adapt. And I think, again, similar to Alex Smith, who a lot of the younger receivers said last year, kind of calmed them down in game situations. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick can have that same effect with this group.
What's concerning to you after a few weeks of camp?
For me right now, it's still the quarterback situation, the depth there, just because, everybody has witnessed it. When was the last time they've gone through a full season with one starting quarterback? Your backup is, in my opinion, just as important as your starter. Yeah. And I don't feel right now that they have their reliable backup. They have two guys who I think can be very good backups, but can they stay healthy? Can they play consistently enough? If they're needed in like week 6 or something. And that to me will always hold a team back if they don't have the quarterback play that they need. Concerned with
Curtis Samuel. I know he's going to be coming back soon because he's on the PUP list, so now it's just about conditioning. But what's a lot, I don't know about concern, or because that might be, I don't know if that's too strong a word at this point.
Well, I think they have the luxury of him knowing the system. Right. This is a guy that has worked with Scott Turner, knows the system, knows, his top other receiver and Terry quite well. But he's been out for 2 months, and when a guy has been out that long, you really start to wonder the severity of the injury. And they're labeling it a groin injury, which could mean anything, in the midsection. So, yeah, you wonder if that's something he's going to be able to overcome. Is it going to linger during the season? Is he going to be in game shape by the start of week 1? How long will it take him to develop a chemistry with the quarterbacks, with the other skill position guys? That is a concern. But for a guy who's familiar with the staff, familiar with the system, Ron doesn't seem terribly concerned yet.
He does not. Do you sense a difference, even when you're going back to we were talking about earlier about just overall camp? Do you sense a difference even among the coaches, whether it's practicing with a different level of confidence, a different level of purpose, anything? That might be, I don't know if that's like looking for something that I don't know if it's there or not, but do you sense any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. I felt like a lot last year. They were all trying to feel each other out. Like, the guys that were holdovers from the previous regime, they were still trying to figure out the staff. They hadn't, before camp, they hadn't really worked with these coaches on the field at all. So there was, an acclimation period, literally, but also, just in learning each other. And I feel like this year, even with all the new players that have come in, there is that energy. I just feel like, with what they did last season, just the foundation they laid, and going back to the playoffs and surprising a lot of people, I think that was a confidence boost for the guys that are come back.
And I feel like you can sense that among them, that they know that there's maybe have a chance to build on something. Right. But as the other thing that I've noticed too is a lot of guys kind of repeat some of Ron's sayings.
Oh, yes.
That to me is a sign of a buy-in.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, you hear it from Chase all the time. You hear so many guys use the phrase that Ron loves, be where your feet are. Don't draw me a map unless you've been there. I think they have bought in, and there's a trust level there. And Montez said that today, that he does feel more confident. He's bought into what the coaches are teaching him, and they have not a ton of proof, but they have that one season where you could see the effects. If they're all in it together, this is what they can do at the very least. Now they just want to go beyond that.
Last one, has anybody surprised you in camp? Anybody in particular?
Good or bad?
Either way.
I think, honestly, Cosme, because he looked shaky at the beginning of camp. Montez was really working him, and there are still days. But, that's a hard spot to take over as a rookie. And he's starting to hold his own. We'll see how he does in games, but, you can see progress. Yeah, and I think that's important. Logan Thomas is another. I mean, he had a great year last year, but he looks like he's put on 10 pounds of muscle. He's a big dude.
He's a big dude, and
and skilled.
But you talk about where I bring up confidence, and I think he's because he had that success. I think there's a different level of what he feels like he can do, and you see it the way he uses his body. Yeah. Just watching him, I'll watch him in pass protection sets. he is the blueprint. I consider McLaurin the blueprint for every other receiver. He's the blueprint for how you need to block, and just I can tell when it's him, even from a distance, because it's like he's the base and all the hands. But there's a consistency and a confidence that seems
absolutely
to have elevated.
I think he could have a huge season as long as the quarterback situation is okay. And I find him so impressive because this is a guy that was drafted in the 4th round, no less, as a quarterback, and can now be one of a top 10 tight end. I mean, that's if anything's a show of pure athleticism. I mean, that's right. And intellect to be able to do both positions. So
there you go, Nicki. We're starting to bake out here. It's time to get out of the sun. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by HP. Whenever you do your best thinking, the HP Spectre X360 is ready when inspiration strikes. With power save for battery life and focus mode to multitask, you can do your best thinking whenever and wherever it happens. You can't always schedule when and where you might have a brilliant thought, whether it's in the morning or before bed, when you're at your computer or away from it. Thinking can happen anywhere and anytime. The HP Spectre X360 2-in-1 convertible PC with Windows 10 saves battery life for whenever an idea hits you. HP Spectre X360, a more thoughtful laptop.
Let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes. On Underdog Fantasy, you just draft. No need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles it all for you. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft a season-long best ball team, and that's it. No in-season management. They're going to give you $25 when you sign up, so you can take a free shot at a $1 million grand prize in their fantasy football tournament. That's right, you can get a free $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use the code Keim, K-E-I-M, when you make your first deposit. I love Underdog because it's just so easy to use. The mobile app is slick, the website is user-friendly, so do what I've been doing. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, join a league, draft a team, and that's it. You're good for the season. Remember, go to UnderdogFantasy.com, the App Store, or the Google Play Store, sign up with the code Keim, K-E-I-M, and get a free $25 in bonus cash. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Nicki and Khaliq for joining me, and thank you, as always, for listening. I'll be back with another episode, likely Friday morning, when we've had a chance to process the preseason opener against the Patriots. I'll also have another draft on Underdog Fantasy. Look for that soon. Talk to you next time.